All right, so I've got this cool front profile photo of my inspiration car, the Ballot 3.8 or 3-liter 8-cylinder, and I've been tracing it here, and I've got most of the important details. And what I'm doing is I'm actually measuring in pixels here. And so if I measure this, I come down here, it says it's 153 pixels wide. And then I can measure the outside, and it says it's 202. And so it doesn't really matter what the actual measurements are because I know what the proportions are. And then I can go and take that and I can sort of figure out what I want to do with my proportions. This is the front, but if I crank up the contrast here, my shadows, and do this, I can see into the background of the photo. And from here, I can, so I know that this is the front belt, and then this is the back belt. And then beyond that is the outline of the cockpit. So that gives me what? 1, 2, 3, and 4 profiles with what those sizes are, I can plug them into my 1, 2, 3, and 4 profile links. And then this is all curved, so I'm gonna have to do a lot more guesswork, but gives me an idea of where I'm going with this. And my engine, I think, is about where I was. Actually, it's a little bit lower than it is in this CAD, but I'll need to update that a little bit. But these initial measurements will give me some idea of the sizes at each of the stations here. I guess station 1, station 2, station 3, and station 4. I'll get to work on making this work with this, and then I can do some cardboard aided design to see if my measurements match reality and what I'm hoping it will look like. The big goal here is I really need this hoop built first because I need to be able to connect the steering wheel to the steering mechanism at the front of the car. One last thing I wanted to point out was something that no one seems to talk about, but it's really important. It sounds clickbaity. Is the distance from the top of the tire to the top of the radiator. I see a lot of cycle carts where the radiator is this big, massive, tall thing. And like from here to here is about 70 pixels. But if you've got this big, tall thing down to here, that's, what is it, 480 instead of, 60 or 70 pixels. Like, it changes the look of the car quite a bit. So I'm trying to be conscientious of that, and I'm trying to keep my box down, proportionate to the wheels roughly. All right, I've got all of my proportions there in pixels. And yeah, I think I can go out to the shop and measure and figure out what these will be in inches on the Cyclekart. All right, I'm out here doing some quick measurements. I will take that, and I think actually if I scale out my image so that this is, 440 pixels wide, that'll give me a 1-to-1 pixel to millimeter template. So that'll be neat, make math a little easier. All right, I am here in the shop, and I've been going over this in great detail. Sometimes it pays to just kind of plug the general numbers into a calculator and see what the designer was maybe thinking. went through and took this number from this corner to the top, and took this number from this to this, the outside dimensions, and I came up with 0.74 repeating, just based on my own kind of tracing math here. That's really suspiciously close to 3/4 or 3/4. So I changed it from 268 by 360 to 270 by 360, which gives me the 3/4 ratio. And then I've been looking at, it's kind of hard to tell here, but I've been looking at the angles here. This has kind of got it's got two angles. It's got an angle out here, it's got an angle here. It actually has a third angle, which is out here. And you can kind of see that on this guy. So there's the angle here, there's the angle here, and then it flattens out further. So it's hard to tell, but basically from this point to this point, sort of match up from this point to this point, and then you've got from this point to this point. So the one I'm mainly concerned about, this is the hood angle. This is, I came up with 25, and then the hood angle up here is 15 degrees. And it's hard to tell, but there's a second line down here that extends sort of below the imaginary horizontal line between the frame and the grill. And that line is represented, getting off topic here, represented down here. I was coming out with 16.7. I redrew it and it came out to be, I think, 14 point something. So I think the intent was to go with 15 degrees down here. This came out to be about 15 degrees, and then I traced this. It's not going to show up on the contrast, but it does. The car does have does cross this bright metal piece in the background, and you can trace it just barely. So I think I've got my station 1. I have my station 2, at least I have the angles and I have the width. And then station 3 I have fully outlined there. I guess I called these, this interior was station 1, but really this is station 1, station 2, and station 3. So yeah, this was me sort of like struggle busting through it here. I've got my 15 degree angle. I came up with 28 on this side and 31 on this side. Decided to go, sort of split the difference, go with 30. And these pieces sort of are highlighted. There's a highlight there, and then there's another highlight right there. And what those are is it's to keep the belt from slipping off. There's a little piece there because it's tapered. And then you can see another one right there. Right there and right there. And that matches up with this highlighted piece. That's not from the CAD program. And then you can see the other one just very faintly here. You can kind of see it a little bit better on this side. And so those are the belt stops, which help me identify exactly where I want that to be. So today's goal was to get station 1 complete. And I've done that here. Trace this guy out, and I'm going to trim it down and then place it over here on my true center line. And it looks something like that. Outline, basically just traced it there. And then I put it on my mock-up of a standard frame. It's really late here. Wow, I can barely talk. Okay, and then so I did this, and actually I had to scale it down a little bit. So let's see here. Got this guy in place, and then I created, let's see here, a front grille. and a midsection, and then the dashboard. And that looks good, but it's kind of hard to tell how that looks with everything, so we go in, we add in the wheels down here, and now you have a much better idea of how everything looks. All right, it's a not cold, gray morning. We're gonna go to a car show today. Gotta get this girl up and running, and clean her out a little bit, and we'll go see what the coffee and cars is like here. All right, so someone made the suggestion that you should just Rivnut the entire upper body subassembly rather than use sheet metal screws. I thought that was a great idea. So I went out and bought it myself a Rivnut tool. Just pretty easy. You just drop the Rivnut in the hole, which is a little bit bigger than the hole threaded hole it's going to go inside. And this thing, you just screw it in place, and then as you screw it out, it comes out like that, and then you pull it together, and it squeezes. There's a piece on the underside. It squeezes it up and meets here, and it works pretty well. So this is my steering bracket, and I've got some 1/2-inch square tubing in there to act as a kind of crush preventer. So let's see here. Get that guy going, get that guy going, that guy going. Then just zip them real quick. Bang. All right. And taking a page out of Mark Parnell's book, I'm using as the bridge here, it's just 1/8-inch plate. And this is what the Rivnuts over here look like. Just standard, 5/16. And get that started. Get this guy started. All right, it is April 15th. It is sunny and nice outside, and I'm in the shop. Got some extra time by myself, so working on this. This is the curvature for the arch here. Will go like this. This is the upper curvature here. Yep, this is roughly 1/2-inch to match the 1/2-inch tubing I got here. And yeah, so I've marked off a 1/2-inch tick all the way along here. And now I've got the center point, and I'm drawing lines. And then I will cut this strip out and unwind it, and then place it as a pattern on here, which doesn't make any sense, but I saw it on the internet and it should work. Yep, there it is, cut out, and then I'll make some notches. All right, so I've got my scribe mark. So you can see that shiny line there. That's my halfway mark. And then you can see I might need to reduce the number of jumps in here, but I've got a couple of good pie shape pieces that I definitely do want to cut out. All right, scribe marks are in. Let's see if they show up there with the light. All right, cut some bits out of the steel, and we'll give it a pull here and see what happens. All right, so that was the intended idea, and that's about what we ended up with. All right, so it looks like I've got 4 close together, and here I've got 2 and 2 close together. So probably weld this guy shut and then put in a new slot here. That should give me the correct curvature and everything. Okay, got this guy welded and I cut in a new slot, but it's still not looking good. So I'm gonna cut, I think, a little bit more notch out of this. All right, and that looks about square. All right, it's not perfect, but I'm kind of running out of time here. Let's get this show on the road. It's supposed to be 8.75 outside to outside. So we'll go ahead and get that guy welded. And yeah, pretty happy with that, I guess. And then it's held in with Rivnuts, so I can always pull it out later. All right, got that tacked in place. All right, here I am doing my world famous trace the monitor. I've scaled via zoom this up to within 1/10 of an inch of correctness, and making sure that my vertical lines match up with the grid, which they mostly do. All right, got my tracing here, and I'm just gonna double check my measurement. But yes, I finished this smaller one. That worked out okay. I was doing a quarter or half inch for the all the little bits. I think for this one I'm gonna do, especially since it's a more regular radius, I'll be doing every inch or maybe even inch and a quarter, probably inch and a quarter, to get the radius I'm looking for. All right, I got the larger radius for the midpoint one, somewhere around here. I've gone out and I started off at 1 inch, and I think I went to 1 1/4 inches. This side has one extra tick mark, so I'm not sure what happened there. All right, well, you're learning with me on this. I've been using this tungsten scribe, and yeah, taped it out. I try to mark out the center line here with the scribe. I don't know if you can see it. And then I stretch out one end, make sure it's roughly on the center. Got a little circle there because they all kind of look the same. And stretch it out. And then I come in with a little tiny scribe bit there. It's hard to see. All right, and I've got my end points for cutting, and it's kind of hard to see because of the stupid LEDs, but kind of look like tiger stripes. If we just kind of come down here. All right, and first try here. Oh, that looks pretty close-ish. Check the template. Oops. That looks pretty close. Yeah. Not perfect, but it's pretty close. Got to give it a little, I can see right there it's pinching. That piece, there might need to be a little zip there. All right, I think this one came out pretty good. I forgot I need at the horizontal, because it goes from curved to vertical, to put in a cut there that matches the horizontal line. So yeah, I think, let's see here. If I squeeze it in just a tiny bit, there we go. Got pretty good.